Yo, what's good, YouTube? Zam Crow here, aka Scoot, back with the CPC Season 7, and we've got our Week 6 matchup here. And we're facing off against Sticks, who is the reigning champion for now, and we just played the Season 5 champion, so back-to-back champions from the CPC, which is pretty cool. And Sticks has a 4-1 record right now, and he's on fire 4 games in a row. And yeah, we're coming off a big, like a big win. But it was in a situation where the early game seemed scary because of a turn 1 play that I did not expect, and then like some paras and some flinches and stuff like that. But we were able to overcome that. My opponent's plays were to flinch me and crit me, so I don't really, discredit him for that. It was his only way to win. Had he potentially won off of that, that would have been sucky. But shout out to El Biribon, who actually started the match off against me with some fortunate luck, and he actually gave me a restart. I don't think Risepool was going for that. And yeah, here we are facing off against Sticks, and he has a pretty scary squad. He loves his Tapu Koko, so he got that bad boy again. As you can see, he's got the Gengar. He's got the Tang Growth as well, which is just a huge nuisance in general. As a regenerator mon, it's natural bulk and so on and so forth. Same thing for Skarmory, also a nuisance with its natural defensive bulk. Allows you to invest into a lot of special defense. And then he's got the Swampert there, which could actually help Skarmory. With Stealth Rocks, could take a lot of pressure off of Skarmory. And then he's got the Alolan Raichu there, which is sort of it is by no means like a meme pick. This thing has a lot of merit in my opinion, and under terrain, having 2 times speed is insane. So it just pairs really well with Koko. You could argue that it's potentially stronger than Koko, with its speed and electric type moves being boosted in the terrain, which is pretty cool to me. I think it's something that's pretty phenomenal. And I think his Z-move users are the Koko and the Alolan Raichu. I better double check on that. But looking at his leads here, his potential leads are going to be Skarmory or Swampert. Sticks is he values hazards a lot, so I do expect him to lead with either Swampert or the Skarmory. We have a lead Greninja for that though, with Taunt to prevent hazards. Because we don't necessarily want a hazard ward. We didn't bring defog support. If he brought hazard stack, I don't expect him to have defog support. So if we're both rocking hazard stack with no defog support, then it's not going to be too fun of a match, taking all that hazard damage. My opponent also has a Charizard, which he did not bring. I assume that's because my squad forces it to run either 4 moves to hit everything on my squad, or it's going to be walled by something. And Sticks appreciates recovery on that. He appreciates the potential to Dragon Dance or the potential to sub up with Charizard. So I kind of didn't expect Zard to come, but I had to be prepared for it just in case it did. It's too big of a threat to leave unchecked. So that's something I definitely considered in my prep. And, excuse me. And my opponent also has Nidoking, which is also another great breaker in the draft format. And I had to prepare for that thing as well. Some other mons you don't see on screen that he also has is the Zoroark and the Uxie. So he's got his entire squad is Tapu Koko, Mega Charizard X, Gengar, Skarmory, Nidoking, Tangrowth, Zoroark, Uxie, Swampert, and the Alolan Raichu. And like I mentioned, his Z-move users being Tapu Koko and Alolan Raichu. So yeah, pretty scary squad overall. And Styx is a pretty good battler as well. Rocking with a new logo this season, but nonetheless, pretty cool squad. And he's a pretty cool guy. He's an alright guy. And our squad here, we have on screen Mamoswine, Greninja, Bronzong, Snorlax, Emboar, and the Mega Sceptile. So our Mamoswine is a bulky boy. We have 160 HP EVs, which hits us at 401 HP. We have 144 defense EVs, which sets us at 232 defense, 80 EVs in special defense, putting us at 176. And then we have enough, it's a coincidence. We have a brave nature, but it's a coincidence that our attack stat sets as if we were rocking a non-attack nature with a non-attack boosting nature with max attack. Normally I do that on purpose, but this one was a coincidence. So we have enough attack as if we were jolly max attack, and we've got minus speed natures, so that we can potentially out slow something like Tangrowth and Skarmory and Swampert under Trick Room, which is really nice. And this thing with thick fat doesn't take much from like Hidden Power Ice from Tangrowth, doesn't take Hidden Power Ice too bad from things like Alolan Raichu or potentially a Gengar, which I don't see Gengar being like a Hidden Power Ice man. I don't think it will rock a Hidden Power at all. I think its coverage is pretty phenomenal for this matchup. And we have the Life Orb on Mamoswine, so we can get the most damage output. With Earthquake, which bops his entire team outside of Skarmory and Tangrowth. And then we've got the Icicle Crash and the Ice Shard, which, you know, hits mons that aren't on the ground, such as Skarmory. And I don't know, I'm not actually sure if you have to Mega Evolve on the first turn. I'm pretty sure you do have to Mega Evolve on the first turn. And that puts me at a position where I don't have to risk Icicle Crash versus a non-Mega Charizard, which is pretty cool. And then Icicle Crash and Ice Shard. Ice Shard could pick off like a weakened Nidoking, weakened Koko, weakened Gengar, so on and so forth. It's really nice just for priority versus his squad, since he does have some really nice speed control. And we also have, next up is our Greninja, which is a Focus Sash variant, just so that if he leads off with something like Koko or Tangrowth or something out of the blue, that we can't be just one-shotted, and we can always get a layer of Spike Up, or potentially put us in point range to where we could potentially knock out something with no bulk investment. However, we aren't invested in special attack at all. We have 248 HP EVs, so basically max HP. We have 20 EVs in defense with a bold nature, and that puts us at 192 defense, so we can't be 2-hit KO'd by non-invested Swampert's Earthquake, meaning if we lead versus a Swampert, we can taunt it, survive an Earthquake, and get a Toxicoff, survive the next Earthquake, and potentially get a Spike Up as well. Also, if we taunt him, I do expect him to switch out to something like Tangrowth, so I could always Toxic the Tangrowth as well. Seeing him go hard into Koko would be insane, but getting a Toxicoff on that would be pretty nice as well. And our last move, like I mentioned, is Spikes. Hazard Stack versus his team is pretty cool. And then we have 44 EVs in Special Defense and Max HP. Allows us to take hits from Shadow Ball, Specs Gengar. Don't necessarily see him being Specs because locking into something like Sludge Wave versus a Bronzong or Mamoswine team, or Shadow Ball versus a Snorlax or Greninja team, that's barbaric. And then we have enough speed to outpace a Greninja, or excuse me, not a Greninja, but a max speed Charizard and a modest Gengar. Or perhaps we speed tie with a modest Gengar. Either way, we're so bulky that like a Gengar is not really too threatening unless it's like a Life Orb Focus Blast, and then it would bop us. But we do have Sash anyway, so it's not too big of a issue there. And then next up we have Bronzong. So Bronzong is where the heat comes in. We've got an Aqua Berry so that we can survive a hit against Charizard. Oh, one hit anyway, unless he's like, you know, +1 or +2, that would be, you know, we're not surviving that. This is our designated Stealth Rocker, and we have Trick Room and Earthquake on this bad boy. He does have things that resist Earthquake that aren't immune, such as the Tangrowth, and then he has 2 immunities in Skarmory and the Uxie. Uxie being another mon that Icicle Crash is nice for on Mamoswine. And Freeze Dry, like I mentioned, it was for the Swampert. But anyways, back to Bronzong. Excuse me for a second. Our last move is Toxic, so that we can Toxic things like Tangrowth and Uxie, and basically the rest of his squad too that's not Gengar or Skarmory or Nidoking. And the idea is to use this thing as a pivot into Koko. It's max HP, max Spadef. I don't see him necessarily bringing like a wild, like I don't see like a physical offensive Koko coming unless it just has U-turn, like U-turn into Thunderbolt or something like that would be nice. A Wild Charge, he takes Recoil, and I don't think that's the best set for this matchup, which again, at our records right now, we're in a pretty solid position for playoffs, unless we both just flop. So he could bring something to just kind of scout my own moves, my own sets and things. And yeah, next up we've got Snorlax, which is a Rest Hawk variant with Frustration and Fire Punch. And this seems weird because he has the Coco, and like you can't rest in the terrain. But this thing is meant to take on Charizard best as possible, and then as well, you know, take on his. It's, you know, bulky enough to take on the rest of his squad as well. But I don't have like Curse or anything like that. I couldn't afford it. I needed like Frustration and Fire Punch, so I could hit the his entire squad. I opted for Fire Punch because it hits Skarmory, you know, as hard as possible. And I guess I could have put the Thunder Punch on there, since it would hit Skarmory a little bit harder, and I would have the terrain boost. And that's something to think about for a potential rematch in playoffs. That would be pretty cool. And this thing just takes hits a lot, can stall out his team pretty much, and not pretty much stall out his team, but it can be annoying to him. Rest Hawk, spamming rest while I'm asleep or something like that, or Frustration or Fire Punch while I'm actually asleep, and just burning turns without actually using PP could be annoying to him. And next up we've got Embor. So underneath Trick Room, Mamoswine and Embor do a number to this man's squad. We have the Flare Blitz, Superpower, Earthquake, and the Grass Knot with the Titanium Z. Thought about running like Z-Grass Knot for the Swampert, but I felt like Titanium Z was a better move to run because it hits Skarmory better, it hits everything that's not Gengar better, and we have the Reckless ability, so that Flare Blitz is doing the most damage, you know, despite how much our HP might be. And then we have 156 HP EVs, which puts us at 400, meaning we can't be knocked out by a Scald after Stealth Rocks from a Swampert. That's with 156 EVs in HP and 80 EVs in Special Defense. And we've also got 96 EVs in Defense, so that we can survive a 2-hit KO, or not be 2-hit KO'd by a non-invested Skarmory's Brave Bird. And then we have 28 EVs in Special Attack, so that Grass Knot is able to knock out Swampert after taking Superpower or the All Out Pummeling. And then we have 148 HP EV, or excuse me, Attack EVs with a Brave Nature, so an attack boosting nature just like Mamoswine, but with a speed reducing nature as well, with no speed EVs or IVs, so that we can function under Trick Room with the Pig Core. And that's the general idea versus the squad, is to set up my hazards with Greninja, taunt him, prevent him from setting up his own hazards, get in my Bronzong, set up my Stealth Rocks so that I have all of my hazards on the field, set up a Trick Room to spot whatever he wants to go into, and then bring in my breakers and start, you know, trying to break his squad down. Once I break his squad down and Greninja and Bronzong have done their job, they can exit the match. Once Mamoswine and Bernardo here, Zero and Bernardo, once they get all of their damage output done, Mega Sceptile should be able to come in and just clean up from that point. So we've got Mega Sceptile here with a substitute, so that I can potentially set up a sub versus Swampert on a potential like a Mirror Code, or perhaps it's Rendo Berry. I can set up a sub and just Dragon Pulse to knock it out and prevent it from, you know, getting damage off on me. If he decides to set up Stealth Rocks, knowing that he can take 1 Giga Drain or something like that, a sub would be nice. Also subbing versus something like a Tangrowth and seeing what it has to hit me with is really nice. Subbing versus Tapu Koko and Alolan Raichu is really nice as well, because I might force them out if terrain's not up. Obviously, the Alolan Raichu doesn't want to stay in and take a hit. And I am Modest Nature, so like Giga Drain and Dragon Pulse is doing the most damage output. And Hidden Power Fire is almost always a 2-hit KO unless Skarmory is max HP, max Spadef, in which it's still a roll after Stealth Rocks. So that's really nice. Modest Mega Sceptile puts in the work in this matchup. So I guess we can start the match off here. And like I mentioned, he's got 2 potential Stealth Rockers, but I have a designated lead here in Greninja, so I'm just going to lead off with that bad boy, and I can just taunt here. There's no reason to do anything else. I just taunt as he goes into the Swampert. And now Swampert can't get rocks up, and Swampert can't toxic me. Swampert can't 2-hit KO me because of my bulk investment. So I can set up a layer of spikes here. But the plan was to toxic Swampert first. I can weaken it for Mammal Swine, weaken it for Embor, and potentially put it to the point where Mega, or not Mega, but Snorlax can 1v1 it. So I'm just going to toxic here as he goes out into the Tapu Koko. Now Tapu Koko dodges my toxic here. So instead of being at 88%, or excuse me, 96%, because of the 6%, it would, or 94%, excuse me, it would take 6% here, and it would be at 94%. And then I would switch out here into my Bronzong as he goes for the U-turn. Now, with or without the miss, his play right there was to U-turn. So, nothing has changed yet. Like, his plays are the same so far. Now, had he been at 96%, that's something to keep in mind for later in the match. So I could set up my rocks here, which is what I'm going to do, expecting him to set up his rocks, but he actually sets up spikes. So this is concerning, as he could be a hazard set, you know, a hazard setter, and I don't necessarily want that to be the case. And it's going to be the case, actually. So he's going to switch out to his Skarmory here, not wanting to take a Flare Blitz as he gets his second layer of spikes up. I'm going to go for the all-out pummeling. I don't expect Gengar to come in, and this does a chunk to Swampert. I am going to hard switch out to my Greninja here. I can't allow this thing to get damage on my Embor. It's very important. It can win in the late game. It's something that I should actually consider more in the late game. Is Embor's HP stat, or its HP percentage, rather. So he protects here, as I think I just set up a spike, which is a little bit unfortunate for him. And on this turn, I'm going to taunt as he switches out to his Koko. So after a round of spikes and stealth rocks, he's at 76%. And had he taken that 6% earlier, he would be at 70% right now. Before taking this round of toxic as well, which would mean he would take another round of toxic damage, meaning he would be at 64% right now, as I hard switch into my Mammal Swine, and he gets a critical hit on the U-turn. You've got to be kidding me, right? Because of Skarmory's max HP, max defense, instead of more Spadef for the Mega Sceptile, which would make sense since, I guess he has Tangrowth, which could semi-check it, but it's not doing much back unless it has like Sludge Bomb or Hidden Power Ice or Bug or Flying or something to hit my Mega Sceptile with. So, yeah, this thing could definitely be max HP, max defense. I don't want to waste attacks on it and lose, like, Life Orb Recoil, HP, and stuff. So I'm going to hard switch out into my Greninja as my opponent goes for the Iron Head. I'm not sure why he went for the Iron Head there. I don't know why Spikes wasn't his play. But I am going to set up a Spike here, you know, as he goes for the Whirlwind. Now, I could have taunted him there, so I don't understand the Whirlwind play at all. But he's going to set up a Spike as I get Whirlwind out into my Bronzong and I switch out. He knows that I'm switching, so he sets up his third layer of Spikes. And I get a Flare Blitz off versus Skarmory. And this man is the luckiest man in the world. He dodged a Toxic with Tapu Koko. He got a critical hit from Koko onto my Mammal Swine. And now he was able to Whirlwind me out into the best Mon possible for him. That's just insane. The only way, I guess, out of two Mons out of 6, well, I guess I couldn't have got Whirled into one of them, but 2 Mons out of 5, like, had I got Embor, or not Embor, had I got Mega Sceptile here, or Mammal Swine, it would have been pretty nice. However, I get my Bronzong in. I'm going to go out into my Greninja hard. Thank goodness he didn't Whirlwind again, predicting that, because I would have just taken so much hazard damage, it would have been insane. And what I'm going to do here is set up another layer of Spike. I don't expect him to stay in, and I can at the same time Toxic this Tangrowth before I go down, as he knocks me out with the Giga Drain. Now I've got my Swampert in it, or excuse me, my Embor again, and I can just click Flare Blitz. He is going to sack off his Swampert here, and now he's going to bring in his Koko, which is after Spikes at 51%, and after Stealth Rocks it's at 39%. But if you factor in the toxic damage that has been missed, it should have taken 6% twice, putting it at 33% 3% and then at 27%. And then it would have taken it on this turn as well, putting it at, what, 21%. And my opponent goes for the Iron Head on this play, which was incredibly ballsy. Had I stayed in with Embor, I don't know if Choice Banded Iron Head would have knocked me out. However, I am able to make a prediction here and go for the Fire Punch. It doesn't do enough to Skarmory to warrant staying in here. So I'm going to switch out to Mega Sceptile as he roosts up. So I'm just going to click sub here, as it gives me, or not sub, excuse me, Hidden Power Fire. I don't know why I said sub. 2-hit KO on Skarmory is very important. If I can weaken Skarmory, Mamoswine puts in the work. So I attack there as he switches out into Tangrowth, which is going to reveal to be a 2-hit KO. So I'm going to actually click sub here to see if he wants to pivot around. He doesn't choose to pivot, so now there's a couple different plays I could do here. I could sub again on the Koko switch. Obviously, if I had landed the Toxic earlier, Koko would be a sack right now, and he would not get the knockout. So I could sub, predicting that, or I could just try to get the damage off. I think Giga Drain's a fine play here because it will knock out the Tangrowth. It's actually kind of ballsy to click Giga Drain here, but in the case that it's you know, not SPDF invested, like Giga Drain was, you know, guaranteed to knock out there, and it would have gave me health back versus everything else. But he sacks off his Koko, and thanks to it not being poisoned earlier, he was able to get the terrain up. And at this point, Dragon Pulse knocks out everything on his squad from this range, and Hidden Power Fire will 2-hit KO Skarmory. So had he not got his terrain up there and he sacked off his Koko, I could have to the hazards, and he wanted to, I'm not sure like what his play would be, switching out, maybe he leaves Tangrowth in, sacks, and then goes into Skarmory with me being at 52%. At this point I don't know what his play is, but if the terrain wasn't up, but since the terrain is up, he's able to bring in his Alolan Raichu and Revenge Kill me, which is insane because this thing is in range of Dragon Pulse, Tangrowth is in range of Hidden Power Fire, potentially Dragon Pulse as well, and Gengar after hazards will be in range of a modest Dragon Pulse as well, and Skarmory is in range of being 2-hit KO'd, and I have enough HP to survive, you know, 2 Iron Heads, or at least 1 Iron Head and 2-hit KO him, which is, you know, enough for me to say, hey, this game is significantly changed by that miss, but let's see what happens anyway. So he's going to Volt Switch out here versus my Bronzong, as I'm going to set up the Trick Room, which doesn't necessarily do much for me at this point. I go for the Earthquake there, hoping that he might roost or something, but he just whirlwinds me out. Embor comes in and dies to the hazards. I bring in Snorlax, and the play here is to just click Fire Punch. I'm out of range of Iron Head, and I can come in on hazards once more and still survive 1 Iron Head and get a rest off. Now that the terrain is gone for good, I can get a rest off, and then Snorlax can be significantly annoying to him to where he would have to burn a Z move off on Alolan Raichu and then land a Focus Blast with the Gengar. But my opponent is actually going to follow up with, you know, his insane luck here, and he's going to get some more insane luck, and he's basically going to Iron Head me to death. Just no reason to go here. I'm just trying to click Toxic and get this game over with as fast as possible. Even try to like make my moves as quick as possible just to get the game over with. But yeah, it's going to be the game for week 6, and we're going to lose 4-0 to Styx. I don't mind. Like I would have rather lost 6-0 to Styx outplaying me, but just knowing how much work Mega Sceptile put in, and to know that, you know, Koko shouldn't have been able to get the terrain up in the late game there. Obviously, up until, you know, the terrain, it wasn't as big of an issue, but him getting the terrain up in the late game for Alolan Raichu to Revenge Kill my Mega Sceptile, I suppose I could have saved Mega Sceptile, but coming in on hazards again at the range I was at was a little bit iffy, because I would have been, you know, taking 25%. I would have been at 27%, I believe, and then Iron Head could knock me out, maybe depending on his set. We do have both sets though, so I will drop my Poke Paste down below and his Poke Paste down below as well. So that's going to be it for Game 6, and we'll be moving on to Week 7 with a 5-1 record. And we're facing off against Andrew, who's brought nothing but scary squads this season, and he is actually, in my opinion, the scariest player this season because of his squad and the way he's building with it. That's going to be it, so let me know what you guys thought about the battle, the prep, and the plays on both sides of the field. Leave a like, comment, and subscribe, all the good stuff, and I'll see you guys next time. Thank you for watching.